mayor of London, Khan, is among the worst mayors in the world. And we have some bad ones. If you look at Chicago, but I think he's the equivalent of the mayor of Chicago. I think he's done a terrible job.
U.S. President Donald Trump wrapped up his state visit to Britain with sharp words for London Mayor Sadiq Khan. Trump revealed he personally requested that Khan be excluded from official events, calling him among the worst mayors in the world. Speaking to reporters, Trump did not hold back, accusing Mayor Khan of mismanaging London. Crime in London is through the roof. On immigration, he's a disaster, Trump said, comparing Khan to the mayor of Chicago and tying his criticism to broader Democratic urban leadership. Trump made it clear that Khan wanted to attend the ceremonies, but the U.S. president blocked him. "I didn't want him there. I've not liked him for a long time," Trump added, citing concerns over stabbings, dirt, and general urban mismanagement in the city.
What do you think about the fact that you attend an event in England, a state visit, it's spectacular,
right,
and yet the mayor of London can't be there?
I didn't want him there. I asked that he not be there. I think the mayor of London, Khan, is among the worst mayors in the world. And we have some bad ones. If you look at Chicago, but I think he's the equivalent of the mayor of Chicago. I think he's done a terrible job. Crime in London is through the roof. The mayor of London, Mayor Khan, has done a terrible job. And on immigration, he's a disaster. Now, I asked that he not be there. He wanted to be there, as I understand. I didn't want him. I've not liked him for a long time. I just think, I have a certain pride in London and UK. My mother was born in Scotland, as you know. And when I see Mayor Khan do a bad job, the stabbings and the dirt and the filth, it's not the same. No, I didn't want him there.
And the Prime Minister said to you, when I asked about, are we a Christian country, his answer was that he was christened. But he's quoted in newspapers.
Who was right?
The Prime Minister said, I was christened, he said today, this afternoon, as though that explained whether we were a Christian country. But he's actually been quoted as saying, 2 years ago, saying he was an atheist, he's a committed atheist. Is he the kind of guy that says something when you're there?
I think he's a very nice man, I really do. His wife is nice. And, we lived for a day and a half. And, the thing I most disagree, I guess I disagree with him on two things. Immigration, which is very rough for the UK, very rough. And energy. As I said, the North Sea, if I had that, I'd make a fortune with it. Look at Norway's accounts. Look at the cash Norway has. And they have the same thing we're talking about. I don't even know if they have as much. But that's a tremendous asset. So those two things. But
you got the feeling.
I get along with him great. I think he's a really fine person.
You got the feeling today that business is keen to invest in the UK? Because it doesn't feel like that when you live there.
Well, we made a deal with the UK, and some of those companies have made a deal with the UK, but there's always strings to the US. I help them. I help them. I want to help them. I want them to be strong as a country. I think it's important that the UK be strong. And we're so strong financially that we can get people to do other things.
Mr. President, we're trying to talk to you about Ukraine. Did the Prime Minister talk to you about Ukraine? He indicated he did. What were his arguments for what you should do?
He was really a little bit embarrassed, and he's rightfully, that I called Europe, NATO countries, EU countries, you can call it either way because they're very similar, but that I caught them buying oil from Russia. And he said, that's not good. I appreciated that he said that. He said, that's not good. Now, how about that? We're supposed to do all this stuff, and they're buying oil from Russia. That's not good. Do you agree? That's about pretty much all we do.
Did he say that he would be open
I'd
to...
happy to do something. But he also agrees they have to stop buying oil from Russia.
Did he say that they would also be willing to do sanctions? That he would be willing to do sanctions?
He would do sanctions, yes. And he's not one of the culprits in terms of the oil from Russia.
Mr. President, Governor John Shapiro said that your administration is cherry-picking violence that is okay and violence that is not okay. What is your response to
violence, and it's violence that you don't have to have. Look, in D.C., we took one of the most dangerous cities in the world, and you can walk down, you can take your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever you want to take, you can take them out to dinner tonight in D.C., and you're going to be safe. It's really safe. We did a great job. We're going to do the same job in Memphis, and we're going to Chicago. And I told you, the head of the Union Pacific, who's a great gentleman, a great businessman, started as a low-level railroad. He calls himself a railroader. It's a cool story. 45 years later, he's the chairman of the Union Pacific. He said, sir, you have to save Chicago. It's a great city. You can't let it go. And when he said that, I said, I don't really have time to wait a couple of months. Last weekend, they lost 11 people were murdered and 28 people were shot. That's not shot at. That means actually hit. 100 were shot at and missed. That's what I call dangerous. And Pritzker's going out and saying, we've got crime under control. Now, it went down a little bit because for 4 months, 5 months ago, I put the FBI there. They've done a good job. But that's limited what they can do. What you really need is our big, strong soldiers to get them into shape. We're not letting Chicago fail. And we're going to get started in Memphis. We'll be very successful, just like we were in D.C. And we're going to have to stay in D.C. for a while because, you leave, people have a tendency to come back. Now, remember, we took 1,500 people out of there, pretty permanently out of there. We took career criminals, really bad murderers and other things. We took them out of D.C. They're not coming back. You don't take them. If they come back, you're just wasting your time. So we took them out and they're not coming back. We brought many of them back to the country from which they came. What Biden did to our country is it's not believable. And to me, that's worse than the inflation he caused. It's worse what he did to our country by allowing 25 million people, which is the real number, to come in, many of whom should never be here, by emptying jails into our country and emptying mental institutions into our country. What Biden and his people, because I don't even think it was him, I think he didn't know what was happening, but what the radical left group of people did to our country will never be forgotten. Okay, have a good trip, everybody.
One more. Just one last
Who would you like to
question.
see replace Kimmel?
Who?
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel look, he was fired, he had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent, and more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent to get ratings, but he had no ratings. His ratings were worse than Colbert, I think. They got rid of Colbert, which was a good thing to do. And look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and you take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party.